For, a podcast where we engage with our community, celebrate our successes, and build meaningful connections. I'm Rick Moulin, Superintendent of the Bonner Springs-Edwardsville School District. In this episode, I'm joined by Matt Middleton, wide receivers coach at Kansas State University and a proud 2004 graduate of Bonner Springs High School. Matt shares his memories of winning a wrestling state championship, being crowned homecoming king, and the lasting impact BSHS had on his life. From the halls of Bonner Springs High School to the sidelines of Division I football, Coach Middleton's journey is one of pride, perseverance, and purpose, and we're excited to share it with you. I'm here with Matt Middleton, wide receivers coach for Kansas State University and Bonner Springs High School graduating class of 2004. Matt, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. Thank y'all for coming up here to spend time with me. I appreciate that.
Yeah, let's talk about how you went from being a student at Bonner Springs High School to Division I football coach at Kansas State. What was that road like?
It was a fun road, rewarding road. You know, I had a lot of help along the way. I'd actually transferred into Bonner my freshman year, although I kind of grew up in the Bonner community. My dad went to school there. My uncles and aunts went to school there. I had brother and sister that went to school to Bonner. So my family was known. And, you know, I grew up wrestling in Bonner. That was the only sport that I actually played in Bonner was wrestling. So the transition for me was fairly easy, just getting acclimated to the school. And always had that Bonner pride, going to high school games and watching my brother play and thinking of, hey, one day I'm going to go to Bonner and play, and lo and behold, it happened. So that transition was awesome, though, from the sports that I played, the people that I was in contact with, the teachers, my counselors during those times. It was truly awesome, and I had a very positive and rewarding high school experience. Just a lot of the conversations, and I'll kind of fast forward from freshman year to senior year because Kristen Moulin, that's sitting in here right now, had some really good talks with me about what I wanted to do in college. I was just trying to figure out what sport I wanted to play, where I wanted to go, and wrestling season ended later, you know, so, and I hadn't done much of anything yet as far as applying to schools and what I was going to do. And she sat down knowing that I was stressed and just talked me through what I needed to do for grants, my FAFSA, coaches, schools, visits to go on, and alleviated all of that. And so that was a huge part. I think also for me, it was also the positive attitudes that I was given by a lot of different teachers. There's not one teacher in high school that, like, I sat and thought about this as you guys were coming up, and there's not one teacher that I didn't like or I didn't care for, that I had altercations with. Everyone during my time was very, very helpful. I think about Mrs. Wood. You know, I had 7th hour English, and, you know, I'm wrestling, so I'm gone, or track meets. And the workload that I needed to do in class was tough to do. And so I did have to sacrifice my winter and spring break to come in there and do it. But she was there for me to make sure that it all got done and taken care of, to where I'm doing my work, make sure that it's done, and then make sure that I did it right. I didn't try and shortchange anything. So I think of people like that cared for me to make sure that I was giving my all, even in the classroom, knowing that I was gone, and that work was excused, but giving me the time to get it done and turn it in, you know. So it's just some of those things that I think about. That was awesome. So,
yeah, you excelled in the classroom. You were a National Honor Society. You were a state wrestling champion in 2004, and if I'm not mistaken, I believe your dad was also a former state wrestling champion. What did that mean to win a state championship at Bonner Springs High School in 2004?
That one still gives me chills. Like, as you bring it up and talk about it, that was like a lifelong dream, a goal of mine. I was very determined to make that happen. Like I said, we grew up in a wrestling family. My dad, he won state And then he won what was called Grand State, which was all the state champions. My Uncle Dave, I want to say he took third. My Uncle John had took second in state. And I'd always seen my dad's picture in the weight room at the YMCA, at practice. And I just always tell everyone, look, I'm going to be up there with him. So, Coach Burns did a great job. Coach Lowe at the time, they both did a great job of just keeping me, focused and motivated on what my dreams and goals were. I had some really good wrestling partners and really good wrestling team. All those guys, we all pushed each other, and achieving that was really, really special. I mean, I still think about, that time of year during this time of what that meant for, our family, and then me achieving a goal of mine for a long time. So that was pretty special of bringing it to Bonner too. Jimmy Vogel, my freshman year, had won it, which was really special because Jimmy was hurt in 2001, and he came in the state. Everybody had their chest painted. I didn't. I was the space, but everybody had their chest painted, and we got to watch Jimmy do it. And, that just, motivates you even more. Somebody you grow up wrestling with, seeing them do it, and the way that they did it, the manner that they did it, with a great attitude, hard working, and overcoming any adversity, that just fueled me to continue to push too. So it was cool doing it for my family, doing it for Bonner Springs High School, of having a state champion, and then doing it for, Bonner Springs Wrestling Club too, because that's who kind of raised me, with Tom and Dale and Jerry Seaton, all those guys being there for us. That stuff was really special.
Yeah, you're talking about a lot of tradition at Bonner Springs High School, and a lot of those names are people who have made tremendous impacts on others. You were also, I don't know if your athletes know this or not, but you were also the homecoming king. Have you ever flexed on your current players with that?
No, I don't tell them too much about me being a homecoming king back in the day. I try not to. I mean, I'll tell my kids. My kids don't think it's cool anyway, so I should let them know that I was cool back then. Right now, my players probably don't think I'm too cool, so I need to let them know that at some point, though.
Yeah, and you were a 3-sport athlete, which is a lot of time commitment. And like we talked earlier, you did really well in the classroom as well, but you did football in the fall where you're a standout wide receiver. You were state wrestling champion, then you participated in track. What was that like being a 3-sport athlete, and what advantages do you see for kids who participate in multiple sports?
As an athlete, it's time demanding, and it forces you to manage your time. I was also working during that time too. I had a couple of different jobs. I worked at the YMCA and Price Chopper. So for me, it was truly, making sure, like, the reason why I did all of those things is because, for one, I love sports. For two, I love competing. For three, I knew what type of life that I wanted to live before I even got to this phase in my life. And so the vision and the faith that I had, it told me that I needed to work and train and compete. I needed to learn how to take care of my body and grow my mental so that I could be a good student in the classroom, to where I challenged myself there. And then, in sports, each sport provided a different skill set, and I loved football, still love football. I loved wrestling, still love wrestling. And so didn't like running, but I knew running was important, and running trains your mental as well. I run to this day, so it's a life skill that I knew that I would have. So those sports helped truly prepare me for each sport, and it allowed me to have a unique skill set. And I look for those traits in athletes now that we're recruiting, young men that are 3-sport athletes or multi-sport athletes that also know how to manage their time in the classroom, because at this level, the time demand is very serious, and you have to have young people that are serious about what they want to become and the things they want to accomplish. So therefore, those prepare you. Practice, take care of your business in the classroom, get your homework done, go to practice, make sure you're eating and taking care of your body. And then if I have to work, make sure I'm in the shower and clean for work, go to work, take care of my business, and then get up and go to school and be on time and take care of that. And that's what life is today. As you become an adult, you realize that you need to do certain things. And I would say Bonner Springs, being a 3-sport athlete, taking care of business in the classroom, definitely helped prepare me for college in that sense too.
Yeah, and I don't know if you remember this or not, but you also were voted. You were in high school. I grabbed a yearbook just to check things out to make sure I had my dates right, and you were voted best smile in high school, and I think that kind of has carried with you throughout life, right?
It has, definitely. Got a nickname in college. I ain't gonna say what that is right now, but it did, and just because of my smile and positive outlook on life, I do my best to do that and to bring joy to other people with my mannerisms too. And I do feel that that's important. I did win Best Smile. I did win Best Athlete too. I had to pick one. Drew Hess I gave Drew Hess Best Athlete, and so I took the Best Smile one. So, but yeah, that is really cool. And again, that's a positive feature I feel to have, and I think that it does bring light to other people with a warm, welcoming smile. So that's something that I got to thank my mom for getting me those braces back in the day.
Yeah, and I'll tell you that just remembering you back in high school, you always had a smile on your face. You always had a positive attitude. I was talking to one of your former English teachers. I was telling her that I was coming up today to visit with you for the podcast, and she said what a great kid you were and always positive, a great student, and couldn't speak more highly about you.
Well, that means a lot. That means a lot, and hopefully, people still feel that way about me around the world, that I'm a good man and a good person, because, again, those things are very important to me. So that's awesome.
So
who was the teacher?
It was actually Miss Luger yesterday.
Miss Luger. Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. Tell Miss Luger I said hello. Hi, Miss Luger. Thanks for the compliments.
And like I said, you've made your entire community proud. For you to be at this level. Let's talk a little bit about the transition. You graduated from Bonner Springs High School. You talked about meeting with Mrs. Moulin as a counselor, not really knowing what the next steps were. You ended up playing college football. And not only did you play college football, you were 4 years all-league honors. And when you left Ottawa University, you were the all-time wide receiver in receptions. So let's talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so it worked out with Miss Moulin because I ended up playing for her brother, Coach Kent Kessinger, which was pretty cool, And myself and Drew Hess were part of his first recruiting class. And so going to Ottawa, it made sense at the time. A coach that was a new head coach, an offensive head coach, and I knew that he knew somebody that cared about me, so that meant a lot as well. So going to Ottawa was awesome. I mean, again, another really good experience, and pouring my all into that. Made a lot of really good friends, and then worked to be the best that I could be every single day. Not wanting to let Coach K down because he took a chance on me with his first job. Not wanting to let my teammates down, and growing from some of the guys that had been on the team, and truly knowing that that's what I wanted to do in playing football and giving my all and doing it there at Ottawa. So that was awesome. And, the rewards, the awards that came with it are great. We didn't ever get while I was there as a player, we didn't ever get the ultimate team goal, but my experience and learning and growing was very awesome and rewarding for myself. So, and I still talk to a lot of those young men to this day. So it was pretty cool.
Yeah, so you graduated from Ottawa University. You got your degree in sports management, and then you went into the coaching profession. And talk about that journey and how did you land at Kansas State as a wide receivers coach?
Yeah, so Coach K gave me my first coaching job there at Ottawa. So I graduated in the spring of 2008. So I got my degree in 4 years, graduated, and I told Coach K, hey, if my receiver coach leaves, please hire me on. I'm all in. And I said, I'll do whatever. Like, I'll move out with some of my teammates. I was like, I'll move out, and I'm ready to do this. And so in the summer, in June or July, I want to say it was July, he called me and said, hey, do you want that job still? I said, absolutely. So I took the job working as a receivers and tight ends coach there at Ottawa my first year in the fall of 2008. and, really grew. Coach K gave me blitzes and defensive scheme to make sure that I was scheming up. And then obviously I was working on the things that I felt, the position group needed. And so from there, after that season, Coach K was like, hey, what do you want to do now? So I obviously loved it. I was kind of determining if I wanted to play still. There were some overseas opportunities or to coach, and he helped me out with some interviews and got me an interview at Nebraska Omaha. Interviewed at Nebraska Omaha and accepted the job there with Coach Pat Burns. Was there for 2 seasons until they dropped football, and I was working on my master's there. They dropped football. I ended up at Chadron State. Coached at Chadron State in 2011. I finished getting my master's in 2012, where I ended up being a GA at the University of Kansas, or Kansas University. Went from there, from KU in 2012 to the University of South Dakota in 2013. I was at the University of South Dakota from 13 to 17. So for 5 years there under Coach Joe Glenn and under Coach Bob Nielsen. Left there, went to Kent State for 5 years under head coach Sean Lewis. Sean Lewis left, went to Colorado. I left, and I was at University of South Florida for about 6 weeks. My family had not moved yet, and I got a call from Coach Riley, who used to be the offensive coordinator and O-line coach here. I'd actually worked with him at Nebraska Omaha, and he said, we have a receiver's job open. Would you like to interview for it? I said, absolutely, but let me check with my wife first. And we checked on, she said, yep, do it. So interviewed for the job. Coach Kleinman, Coach Klein, and Coach Riley, and the rest of the offensive staff, Coach Brian Anderson and Coach Brian LePack. They welcomed me in, and I accepted the job, and here I am working on year 3. So pretty special to be back in my home state, coaching young men from this state, recruiting in this state, recruiting the Kansas City metro area. It's pretty special as a full circle moment. Didn't really expect that, and I get to share that with my kids of being Kansans for a little bit, you know what I mean? So it's been awesome.
Yeah, it's an amazing story, and it couldn't have happened to a better person.
Thank you.
You're at the Division I level, coaching some elite athletes, and Kansas State is a football school. You've had a lot of success. You've coached some very talented wide receivers. What's it like coaching elite wide receivers, and how do you connect with them, and what's the secret?
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing is just being yourself. Everybody respects realness. And so, I'm honest with them. I'm honest about their football. I'm honest about life. You hold them accountable, and accountability isn't just what they do wrong. It's what they do really well. And you let them know that, that you're happy that they're around and they're here, so it's always that day-to-day connection and interaction. It's always letting them know that you're here for them long after they're gone or I'm gone. And that, this time is for them, and this time being for them, they need to pour their all in it, and that's what I'm here to do. That's the definition of a coach, is to take you to a destination that you can't get on your own. So my job is to pour into you as much as I can so that you can get to where you want to get to, because I want to see you succeed. So yeah,
let's talk a little bit about what a typical day looks like for a Division I football coach, especially working with wide receivers. And right now you're in spring ball, but your schedule is pretty tight. Let's talk a little bit about what the day of a life of coach is.
Yeah, if it's a practice day, we're up in the morning, practice. We have meetings, practice. Then we get over and we have practice. After practice, we come back in. There may be recruits on campus, so we have recruits. In between that, we need to get the film watch from practice, get cut-ups made for our meetings with our players that are in the afternoon. Then after that, after those afternoon meetings, go try and see my kids before bed. And then any additional film and recruiting calls that I may need to make in the evening. And then get some rest, get up, and start it all over again. And it's truly just preparation, right? What do I need to accomplish as a professional, as a receivers coach first, and that's detailing the work, getting the young men what they need, the information, because there's a large volume of information, but it's getting them what they need, setting them on that path, and then making sure that I'm organized and ready for coaching, and then recruiting, and then obviously taking care of my family as well.
Absolutely. And so up to this point, what's been your most rewarding moment as a coach?
Oh man, there's so many. That's a hard one. That is honestly one of the hardest questions, and I say that because just last Friday we had our senior banquet. So it's seeing young men, like how they start their journey and then them finishing their journey and how much growth there was in between and then receiving their degree. I've been with young men from their freshman year to their senior year, some first year graduates too, some first generational graduates. It's young men that are just to a T, organized, dedicated, and focused on what they want to achieve. It's some of the selfless acts that you see. It's the relationships of who they are. I mean, it just goes on and on. Guys struggling with something when they first get here and then figuring it out. And whether that's academics, techniques, the structure or the demand, and then them figuring it out and putting it into place. There's so many different things that's rewarding to when it clicks for them. It's like, you got it. I knew you could do it. Keep doing it. So though I wish I could pick one thing. I could go on and on about the different things that reward. I mean, I get text messages from players about they didn't get it then, but they get it now, or how rewarding things are. And I know y'all can relate to it too.
Absolutely.
You just heard it from me about how helpful those things were. So both of y'all. So it's so many different things when you're able to pour into people and they become who they should become. You know what I mean? Those are the special things about life and the rewarding parts about being a college football coach.
Yeah, and you said it best. You're a teacher, and that's kind of why I got into the profession. And we've got so many dynamic teachers in USD 204 that pour their hearts out for kids and make a difference every day. We talked a little bit about that earlier, but if you could go back and tell yourself something based on all of your experiences up to this point, what would you tell your high school self?
I would tell my high school self, if you think you're doing enough, do more. That's what I would tell myself. Just thinking big picture, right? Like, prepare a little more, right? Like, have more conversations earlier. Use your resources, try and have someone put a plan out there for you, in your freshman and your sophomore year. Have people ask me, go ask questions, or ask myself questions of, what do I want to do? What do I want to be? And have those conversations with people in the room. You know what I mean? I think I could have used my resources better. And I think I had people that did help me out. But that would have been me just, talking up and thinking a little bit more, just so that I could be better prepared. I think that would have been the best thing, is if I think that I was doing enough, do more. Do more and make sure I maximize my time. The other thing I think I wish I would have done more in high school, the older I've gotten, is a little more community service. The impact that you can have as a high schooler in your community, I think that's pretty big too. And we do that here with our players. And so just seeing that, my son does some community service, but just seeing that's pouring into others, which is also pouring into yourself, which I think is very important for a community. So those two things.
Yeah, we're here with Coach Matt Middleton, Bonner Springs High School graduate. Matt, a couple more questions, and then we'll let you go. You talked a little bit about athletics and how it connects to life lessons, but for those of students that are sitting at home listening to the podcast right now that are high school athletes, or students that are just sitting in the classroom, they may be part of the choir or the band, talk about the importance of being involved in what life lessons can football or band or whatever it is that you're participating in as a team, what life lessons can that prepare for you?
Yeah, all those different organizations that, like in sports teams, those help you with your social skills, and it gives you a sense of belonging, and it helps you do things for others, right? Like if you're a part of a group or an organization and there are meeting times or there are planned events, you're going to show up to those events not for yourself, but for other people. So it's teaching you to be selfless in your actions. It also teaches you a lot about yourself. As you're in sports, right? Like you're exhausted, and when fatigue hits, it's a very difficult thing. No different than being sleep deprived. You get to find out who you are, but you're also able to dig a little deeper and tell yourself, I can do this. I can go further. I can push myself harder to become who I want to become. And from some of the organizations that you can be involved in, I mean, you never know what piques your interest because there's so many different roles. Just like in the professional world, you might find something that you're interested in, and then you find your niche. So jumping into those organizations and learning about what different people do, or even different sports teams and what different roles you may have. Like you may jump on the football team and realize, hey, I don't want to play football, but I want to be an athletic trainer, or I want to be an equipment manager, or I want to be an assistant, or I want to be a coach. And so it allows you to figure out what you want to do and then where you fit in. And I think that's always something that everyone's looking for, is a sense of belonging. Where do I belong? What is my purpose? What has God called me to do? And so I think as you are looking for that sense of purpose, joining clubs, groups, organizations, and sports teams, I think those things help you find that.
Yeah, so what I'd like to do next is have 4 questions for you to end the interview. First thing that comes to your mind. You ready for this?
Yep.
All right. Think back to high school days. What was your go-to lunch?
Go-to lunch. I ate school lunch a lot. My favorite, it's going to sound kind of crazy, was the mashed potatoes. And like it had the brown gravy with, I don't even know what it was. It was, I don't know, some meat, some beef. Or it was
Salisbury steak?
Yeah, it was like Salisbury steak. Or it was like the square, like the French bread pizzas. Yeah. So it was one of those two. That's where I was like, all right, I'm good either way. So those two.
Yeah, now if you come back to Bonner Springs High School now, I think you'd be most impressed with Chicken Patty Wednesday. We've got the spicy option, and it's our kids' favorite.
I might have to, if I'm on the road and there's a Wednesday, I might be knocking on that door, stopping in there for somebody to let me in.
You're welcome anytime.
Thank you.
When you do come back to Bonner Springs, what are the first places or people you like to see?
Man, well, if I'm ever back in Bonner, which has been a little bit, I do like to try and go to the high school. The last time I was back in Bonner, I stopped at the high school. I was recruiting during that time, but that's where I stopped. There were a couple of restaurants that were there. Red? It was
Red
like
Fortune?
The Red Fortune, the Chinese spot, but it was a breakfast spot.
Oh.
It was red something. I can't even think of it. It's not there anymore, but they made breakfast sandwiches and all that good stuff. I always drive by. I don't ever go the back road anymore. I always drive by on Nettleton and go by the park and all that. And then I try and drive downtown just to see what that looks like. You know what I mean? And so, but I've again, the high school, because that's where I spend a ton of time. And then my brother, my oldest brother, Anthony, his grandparents live there, so I'll try and swing through there and see Mama and Papa over in there. So those places. Haven't really eaten there, but I've seen that it's changed. Is Mr. Goodson still around?
Mr. Goodson's still.
That was always the spot to stop. After school, before football games or something like that, to grab something good to eat or something like that. So, but Red Fortune would be that would be one of the places that I haven't been in a minute. I need to go.
Yeah, I hear you. I love Red Fortune, and a lot of people do. What's your favorite hype song before a big game, either as a player or a coach?
Ooh, as a coach, I don't have one anymore. As a player, I was a little weird. I listen to slow songs. I didn't need to get too turned. Like I don't know. So
you listen to love songs?
I did to calm me down. Now wrestling and football though, I wore number 1, and during that time there was a very popular song by Nelly called Number 1. So if I were to say my favorite song, it would have been Nelly number 1. And then coming in second would have been Nelly Ride With Me. So those two were always playing. I would say that from 2001 all the way through. So those two, I would say, are still staples to this day. I gotta hear those two.
Yeah, if you could coach any sport besides football, what would it be and why?
It probably would have been wrestling, simply because I grew up doing it. I had a passion for it. I still have a passion for it. It teaches you so many things about yourself, the challenges that you have to have, and it's a one-on-one sport to where no one else. It's you. It's what you pour into it. So it probably would have been wrestling, maybe basketball. I mean, even though I didn't grow up playing it, I enjoy watching it. I enjoy doing it as a recreational sport. So probably wrestling or basketball. Yeah, one of those two.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for being on the show.
Hold on. Before we do that, is fishing considered a sport?
Hey, it's a foreign language to me because I'm afraid to touch the worms. But
I'll take care of it. I'll take care of it. I'll put it on there. Or we can use artificial. How about that?
Let's do that. That sounds good. You remember Mr. Downing? He actually makes his own fishing rods. And so, he's got a lot of talent.
I maybe need to give him a ring too then.
That's right. That's right. So I can't tell you how proud I am of you and the entire Bonner Springs Edwardsville community. You're a Bonner guy, and you're making it big in college football. So congratulations on the start to a great career.
Thank y'all very much. The words mean a lot, and even wanting to interview me for the podcast is awesome. A lot of love for Bonner Springs. It truly made me who I am throughout my high school and college career, and with all of the love and support from all of you all. So thank y'all. Okay, thank y'all very much.
Hey, Matt, let's end it with this. It's a great day to be
a Brave.
That's
absolutely.
Right. Great day to be brave.
Great day to be a Brave, baby.